Sick.
Good evening. How are you? No budgies tonight. None whatsoever. No, I know. He's maybe been a lunch for he or she may have been a lunch for somebody. There's a programme on... As if I knew the answer to that. I have no idea where that sentence was going. There's a programme on one of the telly channels called Speechless. It's quite funny. I watch it. It's the story about a odd family in the United States. I say odd. You would think they're dysfunctional in so many ways, and yet they are functional in their relationships with each other. And it's a fascinating programme. And it's quite funny as well. I mean, it's a comedy. It's meant to be funny. And I watch it. And one of the central characters and the essence of the storyline is a child, the oldest child, whose name is JJ. You know what the Americans are like. And he's in a wheelchair. Right? So there's all that, how a kid in a wheelchair fits into society, how a kid in a wheelchair fits into the family. And he's also, he can't speak. He can hear, but he can't speak. He speaks by shining a light on a word panel. And we enjoy it. We sit there and we watch it. It's a series of half-hour. There's only 2 left for us to watch. We don't watch anything live. We've got them all saved up. And we've been watching probably one a day for quite a while. And I got to thinking, well, there's another character who's appeared in it in the last couple of editions, and he too is in a wheelchair, and he has cerebral palsy. And you know he has cerebral palsy because there's a certain way that people with cerebral palsy move their hands and their speech pattern and all the rest of it, and he's in a wheelchair. And we then found out that the child in the wheelchair, JJ, also as a character has cerebral palsy. We can't speak at all. So I'm just sitting there and the programme had ended, and I turned to the person who uses technology in our house and said, I wonder if the actor who plays JJ has a disability and spends his life in a wheelchair. Thought it was a fair question. And my wife said, when she looked it up, she said, yes, the actor has cerebral palsy. And I said, oh, good. And she said, you pig. I didn't. And you just realise sometimes you say things that are just wrong, and yet they're right. I was glad. Not that boy had cerebral palsy, but in a programme where a central character has cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair, is played by a child actor who has cerebral palsy and lives in a wheelchair, as it were. Although the actor can speak, but his part doesn't speak. But it was that response that got me in trouble. Yes, the actor does have cerebral palsy. Oh, good. She knew what I meant. But never miss an opportunity. That's how they work, isn't it? Never miss an opportunity. Outrageous what I have to endure sometimes. Outrageous. But there you are. We used to go and watch a lot of theatre, and there's a theatre group made up entirely of people with disabilities, and it's called Grey Eye. And I've seen them a couple of times. And as a theatre group, they are really, really good. I say that because often people will say, oh yeah, I went to see, I went to see a performance by actors with a particular disability, or what have you. And they say, it was really good. Really, really, oh, it's good. Yeah, it was good. And then you press them, and they say, well, they're as good as you could expect. And it starts to fall apart then. But Grey Eye, who I've seen a few times, are brilliant. And all these actors, they all have a disability, all have a different one, and they're fantastic. I mean, not patronisingly fantastic, they're just actually bloody good. It's worth going to see the play and then perform it than just going to see some disabled people with disabilities doing things. It's fantastic. Anyway, but I did actually say today to my wife when she told me that an actor had cerebral palsy, my response was good. Now, if somebody... you might wonder why I'm telling you this, because I'm an idiot. But if somebody took that as a quotation and threw it at me in an interview or something, did you actually say that an actor with having cerebral palsy was good? Well, clearly, I would try to bluff my way around it and say, well, it's taken out of context. They never let you do that. They say, well, what could the context... Did you say it or didn't you? Well, yes, I did. But if you know the context, but my wife, who's a journalist, knows how to hurt, and she just said, "You pig," which is it's what keeps me going, really. Love and romance. Any road. Good evening. How are you? Shall we get on? Yeah, we probably best add. How do, John?
Yeah, am I on?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I want to word with you.
Good.
You're out of order.
I spend a lot of my life out of order.
Don't get smart with me. That joke about that wheelchair.
It wasn't a joke.
Funny.
It wasn't a joke.
The show,
Pardon?
when you started the show, making fun of that boy in wheelchair.
Do you mean the chap in the wheelchair in Speechless?
He said he was glad.
Well, I did explain how the expression came about, but you carry it any way you like.
Well, it's not funny. My wife were in wheelchair.
I wasn't making it funny. I was saying good.
He was glad.
I'll explain it again in the hope that you understand.
Twist my words.
I'm not twisting your words.
You know what you said.
I do indeed. Apparently you don't. I didn't say I was glad.
Said you was glad. He was in wheelchair.
John, I'll tell you what John, shut up and listen.
Oh.
Shut up and listen. I'll let you speak afterwards, but shut up and listen. What I said was, shut up and listen. And I'll let you speak afterwards.
Good.
I was asking my wife if the actor who played the boy in the wheelchair actually had a disability. The reason I asked is because I find it outrageous when they put able-bodied actors in wheelchairs to pretend they're disabled. So I said, is he disabled? And she said, yes, he has cerebral palsy. And I said, good. And then realised what I've said. But I wasn't saying I was glad. Listen, I did say listen. I wasn't saying that I was glad he was disabled and glad he was in a wheelchair. I was saying I was glad that they didn't use an able-bodied actor to pretend to be disabled. Now you have your say, please.
Right, okay. But what you're talking about, right? You think it's funny. Someone's in wheelchair.
No, I don't. How do Paul?
No, he didn't.
No, Paul. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about, Paul?
Hi, Alan.
Hiya.
Brexit. What else? Is this to talk about?
Yes,
Brexit?